Hello to all FC Barcelona fans. I'm Pierre, a passionate fan just like you. Today, I bring you 3 very important pieces of news concerning our beloved club. But before we start, I need your support. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment at the end of the video. Let's get started with the first piece of news. Firstly, behind the scenes of European football, there is no more doubt. The talent emerging from La Masia is once again making a difference, is once again coveted, and positions FC Barcelona as an inexhaustible breeding ground for stars. This time, the name on everyone's lips is Fermin Lopez, one of the great gems resulting from the silent and meticulous work of the Catalan club. His footballing explosion has not gone unnoticed, and the big clubs on the continent, including Chelsea, are already rubbing their hands at the idea of snatching him away from the Blaugrana team. But at FC Barcelona, the message is clear. Fermin is not for sale. Not now, not at this crucial moment in the sports reconstruction led by Hansi Flick, not when the club needs figureheads who represent the Blaugrana DNA. The temptation of easy money is always present. Modern football, in many cases, is filled with operations that prioritize economic gain over identity and sports projects. But not all clubs operate in the same way. Not all presidents yield to offers. Joan Laporta, who has experienced critical financial moments, seems to have clear ideas on this matter. The priority is to secure Fermin Lopez, because selling a promise turned reality like him would be betraying the principles on which the new FC Barcelona is being rebuilt. Chelsea, recent champions of the Club World Cup, believe they can use their current international momentum to strengthen their team for the Champions League. Their stated goal is to make a splash in the market, and the name marked in red by their coach Enzo Maresca is Fermin. The Italian strategist considers the young Andalusian to be the type of midfielder he needs to bring balance, creativity, and presence to the team. In London, they want to make him the pivot of the project, and to convince him, they would be willing to offer more than €50 million, as well as a guaranteed starting role. But what does this mean for FC Barcelona? What value does money have when talking about one of the players who has best represented the club's values in recent times? Fermin is not just talented, he is committed, hard-working, and persevering. He arrived without making noise, made a place for himself through his work, and has not stopped progressing. His performances have been so consistent that many see him as the natural heir to a position historically reserved for those who understand the game with a vision that is only learned at the Blaugrana cantera. Last season was decisive in consolidating him. Despite the pressure, competition, and media demands, Fermin delivered and did so with humility, character, and a footballing level that amazed everyone. Hansi Flick's technical staff greatly appreciate his profile, and the coach himself has made it clear that he is counting on him to be a protagonist. In fact, according to internal sources, the German explicitly requested that the player not be negotiated under any circumstances. However, the rumors from London persist. Fermin's entourage, although firm in their desire to triumph in the club that gave him his chance, has begun to receive seductive messages from the Premier League, promises of a starring role, salaries that double what he currently earns, and the possibility of playing on one of the most media-covered stages on the planet. But Fermin's heart still seems to beat to the rhythm of the city of Dali. He wants to stay, he wants to mark an era, and in these times, that is something that is priceless. This is where Barca fans must raise their voices. Are we going to allow a gem like Fermin to leave at the moment we need him most? Are we going to fall into the trap of selling the future for money? What do the Kules think of this scenario? There is no room for error in this new stage of the club, marked by young talent and a clear commitment to homegrown players. Losing Fermin would be a step backward, and that cannot be allowed. It is true that the club is still going through a delicate financial situation, that some decisions must be made with a calculator in hand, but it is also true that there are assets that are not measured solely by their market value. Fermin represents much more than a good figure on the balance sheet. He represents hope, continuity, the project. He represents the type of footballer who connects with the supporters, the fans, the children who dream of joining the first team from the base. From London, Chelsea is putting on the pressure. They are convinced they can take advantage of the situation, but they are mistaken if they think that today's FC Barcelona is weak. The club has learned from its recent mistakes. This is no longer the time to give in. Now is the time to defend what is ours, to take care of our own, to secure the talent that is part of our identity. Fermin will not just leave. Fermin must be a protagonist, a banner, an example. In the management, they know this. Laporta has repeatedly stated that only those who want to leave will leave. And Fermin, to this day, does not want to leave. His commitment is absolute. He feels the badge, knows the history, respects the jersey, knows that even if there may be more money outside, within the club lies the glory, and that cannot be bought. The player's entourage has been receptive to the messages of confidence transmitted by Flick. The German coach has made it known that his versatility in midfield will be key to the project that is beginning. It is expected that in the coming weeks, a contractual improvement will be formalized, placing him at the height of his performances, not only to satisfy him but also to send a clear message to the market. Fermin is not for sale. However, it doesn't end there. The coming weeks will be crucial. Chelsea could increase their offer, seek intermediaries, attempt with variables, but the Blaugrana club has already defined its line. We do not negotiate, we do not discuss. The Cule Passion also has an important role in all of this. Their support can make the difference. What do the supporters, the fans, those who fill the stadium every week think? Isn't it time to embrace those who feel the jersey, to protect those who represent us on and off the field? To demand that the sports project be prioritized over economic temptations? Fermin Lopez must stay, not out of whim, but out of conviction, because his story is the story of FC Barcelona that we want to build. An FC Barcelona based on the cantera, trust, loyalty to the style. An FC Barcelona that looks to the future without forgetting its roots, and in this future, there is no room for doubts. Fermin is indispensable. And you, Cule fan, are you ready to let one of our own leave, or will you join in the defense of the talent that we carry in our hearts? Secondly, let's talk about an important decision within our beloved club. From the offices of FC Barcelona, they continue to work with impeccable logic, recruiting intelligently, training rigorously, and selling when circumstances allow, always with the aim of ensuring economic balance without abandoning the sports project. In this context, an operation has been revealed, highlighting the club's ability to generate value through well-executed strategic decisions. According to journalist Fabrizio Romano, a specialist in the transfer market, FC Barcelona has concluded an agreement with Sporting de Braga for the transfer of the forward Pau Victor for a fixed amount close to 12 million euros, with an additional 3 million in variables depending on his performance. An operation that, upon closer examination, is much more than a simple sale. It is a demonstration of effective management, a clear sign that the club's silent work is bearing fruit. Pau Victor, a forward who arrived at Barca from Girona for just 2 million euros barely a year ago, has multiplied his value in record time. His stint with Barca's reserve team was discreet in terms of playing time under the orders of Hansi Flick, but sufficient to reveal glimpses of quality that attracted the attention of European clubs. Sporting de Braga, an entity known for its strong commitment to young talent and its competitive ambition in the Portuguese Championship, was the one that seriously considered the possibility of having the forward. And FC Barcelona, in a move that speaks volumes about its understanding of the market, knew how to wait for the opportune moment to negotiate from a position of strength, obtaining an amount that quadruples the initial investment in the player. This type of operation is particularly valuable for a club like ours, which continues to seek the formula to compete at the highest level without compromising its economic viability. Selling a player for over 10 million who arrived at the club just 12 months ago for a much lower amount not only improves the club's liquidity but also frees up salary space, something fundamental at a time when other additions are underway to strengthen the main team. It's not just about making profits, but doing so intelligently, without losing control of talent that could explode in the future. And in this case, FC Barcelona is negotiating a buyback clause that could leave the door open for a possible return of Pau Victor if the player confirms in Portugal the good sensations he left during his brief stint as a Cule. The insistence of the sports management to include a buyback clause is no coincidence. In the club's offices, there is a conviction that Pau Victor can still reach a higher level if he has the right environment to grow without pressure. The Portuguese Championship is ideal for this type of progression. Technical, demanding, and closely followed by scouts from the main European leagues. In this scenario, the Catalan forward will have playing time, confidence, and a competitive structure that can help him explode definitively. And if that happens, FC Barcelona will have the option to recover him, probably for an amount lower than what it would have to pay if it let the player continue on his path without any contractual link with the Blaugrana entity. This model of action responds to a philosophy that is beginning to bear fruit. Incorporating young talents with potential for appreciation, offering them a top-level training environment, and then opening the exit door if convincing offers arise, without losing sight of the possibility of recovering the footballer if his evolution justifies it. In an era where the market is saturated with exorbitant operations and clubs that spend without measure, FC Barcelona opts for a much more sensible management line, based on observation, seizing opportunities, and commitment to a job well done. Pau Victor was not a regular starter, nor did he benefit from the spotlight during his time at the club, but that did not prevent his profile from arousing the interest of several clubs. The commitment of Sporting de Braga is proof that the market continues to positively value the seal of quality that represents having passed through the Cantera and the intermediate categories of FC Barcelona. It is a reality. Being part of the CUL environment remains synonymous with prestige, development, and projection. Each player who leaves a legacy and a benefit, and that is also part of the success of a club model like ours. This operation comes at a key moment, in the midst of planning for the next season. With the sale of Pau Victor, FC Barcelona obtains financial breathing room to tackle other priority management tasks, such as the registrations of reinforcements, which are already closed or well advanced. Additionally, it lightens the squad of players who, for sporting or strategic reasons, will not have their place in the main team this year. It's not about closing doors, but opening new possibilities for both the player and the club. Pau Victor will have the opportunity to demonstrate all his talent in a competitive league, and FC Barcelona reserves the option to count on him again if his performances make him an interesting profile for the future. From an institutional point of view, this type of move strengthens the club's image as an entity capable of generating value without needing to assume unnecessary risks. With minimal investment, a very considerable added value has been obtained, and all this without compromising the sports project. Instead of accumulating players without real space, the club has opted for a strategic sale that leaves direct and indirect benefits. Because in addition to the economic contribution, this type of operation strengthens the prestige of our Cantera, projects an image of seriousness in the market, and sends a clear message. At FC Barcelona, even players who do not reach the first team can have a dignified, profitable, and professional exit. And what does the CUL fanbase think? What do you think of this sale? Isn't it an example of how a modern and responsible club should operate? Instead of clinging to names, FC Barcelona thinks in terms of projects, cycles, performance, and profitability. The sports management, led by serious professionals, has shown that it knows how to detect opportunities and turn them into assets for the club. And FC Barcelona demonstrates once again that its sports policy is aligned with sustainability, growth, and long-term vision. This is how great projects are built. This is how the competitive power of an institution that has never ceased to be great is regained. And now, CULs, the question remains open. What do you think of this operation? Don't you think it's further proof that our club is regaining wisdom and good judgment? Don't you feel that, beyond the big transfers and the flashy headlines, there are decisions that speak very well of the direction we are taking? Pau Victor is leaving. Yes, but Barca continues to grow, and that is undoubtedly what is most important. Thirdly, let's discuss a potential masterstroke for FC Barcelona. The transfer market never sleeps, especially when a promising young talent from the league decides to take a different path than expected. Javi Guerra, one of the most promising midfielders in Spanish football, has taken a step that shakes the foundations of Valencia and puts several elite clubs on alert who have been observing his progress for some time. But among all the interested parties, there is one that is already starting to move with determination and ambition: FC Barcelona. The Catalan club, always attentive to movements in the national market and with a clear commitment to young talent, is seriously evaluating the incorporation of the player after learning that he has rejected Valencia's renewal offer. In a context where Barcelona's sports project is once again generating enthusiasm, both for the renewed leadership in the offices and for the footballing proposition that is beginning to consolidate on the field, Joan Laporta and his team see in Javi Guerra a strategic opportunity. The Blaugrana president, with his usual flair for outmaneuvering rivals, has already held internal meetings to study how to structure an offer that would convince Valencia and the players' entourage. The idea is not improvised, but is part of a well-drawn roadmap that prioritizes the capture of young Spanish talents capable of integrating into the club's playing model and with the potential to dominate European football in the coming years. Javi Guerra's rejection of renewing with Valencia is not a simple economic disagreement. According to sources close to the player, what he is looking for is a qualitative leap in his career, competing on bigger stages and surrounding himself with a sports structure that allows him to exploit all his potential. And that is where Barca appears as the most coherent and stimulating destination. In the CUL entity, he would not only find playing time and protagonism but a context that values talent, protects it, and promotes it. A school that has forged some of the best midfielders in history and which today, with Hansi Flick at the helm, once again bets on technical excellence and tactical intelligence. Laporta is determined to take advantage of the rift between Javi Guerra and Valencia. From his entourage, it is stated that the first formal contacts are already being prepared to gauge the willingness of the Mestalla club to negotiate. Although Valencia is aware of the player's value, the pressure of the market and the midfielder's firm position could force a sale under conditions favorable to the Blaugranas. In this sense, FC Barcelona is studying the offer of a reasonable amount for the transfer but is also considering creative formulas such as the inclusion of variables depending on objectives or even the temporary loan of young players who could immediately strengthen the Valencian club. Moreover, there is an element that clearly plays in favor of Barca: the player's desire. Although Javi Guerra has been cautious in his public statements, everything indicates that his entourage views very favorably a change of scenery to a club that allows him to compete for titles and make an important media leap. And FC Barcelona amply meets these requirements. It is not only about prestige but also about integrating into a style of play that perfectly suits his characteristics: refined technique, game vision, great interpretation of spaces, and a maturity improper for his age. The scenario thus seems open. Valencia, although reluctant to lose one of its most precious assets, is beginning to accept that the operation could be inevitable if it cannot reverse the situation. And meanwhile, in the offices of FC Barcelona, they are working with caution but with determination. Detailed monitoring of the player has been activated, dialogue with his representation has begun, and they are analyzing how to structure an offer that is convincing not only economically but also sportingly and emotionally. Because at Camp Nou, they recruit talent, commitment, and projection. For the Cule fans, the news does not go unnoticed. Many are already beginning to debate on social networks and in discussions about the opportunity to incorporate a player like Javi Guerra. Would he fit into the current squad? Would he have enough playing time? Would it be a strategic move in the medium and long term? From here, as a Barcelona voice, we have no doubt. It is an operation that excites. Guerra represents everything that this new Barca is looking for: youth, quality, a winning mentality, and room for progression. He is not an established star, but he is a diamond in the making who, with the right environment, can shine like the greats. The recruitment of Javi Guerra would not only be a coup on the table in sporting terms, but would also send a powerful message to the rest of Europe. FC Barcelona is not asleep, it is more awake than ever. And when a national talent emerges on the market, the Blaugrana club is the first to raise its hand and demonstrate that it remains the great reference for any young person who dreams of making history. Because joining Barca is not just signing for a club, it is entering a philosophy, a way of understanding football and life. The midfielder would also benefit from an environment that has known how to develop young people even in times of institutional instability. And today, with the sports management aligned, a coach like Hansi Flick, who values millimeter-perfect intelligent and capable players of progressing, and a board willing to invest in talent with discernment, the moment seems perfect. Barca needs to continue renewing itself from within, to continue betting on players who can mark an era and not just complete a team. And Javi Guerra fits perfectly into this vision. Therefore, it is not surprising that Laporta is ready to take the step. It is not a blind bet. It is a calculated move, with a future vision and the certainty that Javi Guerra's talent deserves a bigger stage. The Cule fans, who have suffered so much in recent years seeing emerging talents escape for financial or strategic reasons, see in this move a sign that things are changing, that the club has regained its ambition, that there is direction, that the best are once again looking at Camp Nou as a dream destination. And you, Cule, what do you think of this possible recruitment? Do you think Javi Guerra is the ideal profile to strengthen our midfield? Do you agree that Laporta should make a move for a national talent in full projection? Would you like to see him dressed in blue and garnet at the new camp? The conversation is open, and the feelings are already more than positive, because when Barca calls, few can resist, and this time, the future could be written with the name of Javi Guerra. Leave us your opinion in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all, and see you next time. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any recent news about Javi Guerra's transfer. However, based on the search results, it seems that Javi Guerra has been a subject of interest for several clubs, including Manchester United and AC Milan. There were also mentions of interest from Atletico Madrid and Real Sociedad. However, none of the sources explicitly confirm a transfer to FC Barcelona. If you have any other questions or need further information, feel free to ask.